rules of engagement. Got the next section coming up for you guys. Before we jump to that section, let me tell you guys how you can catch up on old rules of engagement episodes and, of course, all our great show matches, King of the Hills, etc. It's this cool, crazy site called YouTube.com. Let's check it out here. YouTube.com/official MLGSC2. So let me give you a little bit about some of the stuff we have here. We upload all of our shows within. I mean, you can see this. This is my my last rules of engagement episode was uploaded 22 hours ago. That's within an hour or two of when the show ends. Actually, I think it was like half an hour after the show ends. It's already up on YouTube. So we get them up there very fast. You can check out all the shows there. One really cool thing is we got all these playlists. So you say, I want to catch up on rules of engagement. You jump to the rules of engagement section. You can say, oh, look at this. Defending multi-pronged aggression, same tier, new tricks. You can see all the little topics, what's going on here. Some of these here, the descriptions are a little further in, but you want to check out my own replays, check out the self-reflection games, and check out community replays, check out the community critique games. Crazy pro replays, mechanics of the bizarre. You can keep going down and explore it all on your own leisure. We got some other cool playlists too. We can go back here and check out some of the hardest form exhibitions. So there's some King of the Hill stuff going on. That was some great matches. We had Crank, Ghost User, Dragon. Some great players. Katz was winning a lot of games too. Rotterdam was even in there. And then we had a great show match, Seed vs Supernova. So there's all these cool stuff you can get on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/official MLGSC2. And then once you get there, and you're like, you know what? They update this stuff so often, I want to know when something cool happens. So what you do is you take your little mouse, not the type your cat eats, the type you use on your computer. Scroll over to the subscribe button right here, and you just click it. Boom. And it's done. You just got to sign in first, which I haven't done yet. So that is all you got to do is sign in, and then boom, you can subscribe. You're all set. Good to go. Get all your cool favorite YouTube videos. Watch me, watch Heart of the Swarm, watch Mr. Axel Toss. A lot of cool content for you guys to check out on YouTube. Let's talk about our next replay. It is going to be a Zerg game. We're going to talk about a basic Zerg build, and the basic Zerg build is going to be a hatchery first that is followed up with a speeding expand. A couple of the strengths of this build, I'll discuss that as we get into it, then talk about potential follow-ups, and then of course the most general follow-up to this type of opening. So as we jump into the game here, let's take a look at the Zerg player and what he does. First thing you gotta do is you gotta build workers, same as every race. So keep building those workers, keep cranking them out. Once you get to 9 workers, you go ahead and build yourself a second overlord. And you keep building workers, keep building workers. Some people build the hatchery on 15, some on 16. Pick your poison. When you have 200 minerals, you just send a drone out. So I send a drone out a tiny bit on the late side, but it's okay. I'm going to go for a 16 hatchery. Most important thing is to get that hatchery down first. And the really important thing is because the early hatchery not only allows for greater economy, because all of a sudden you can unlock all these extra minerals, but also it allows for you to build a stronger potential army. And the reason why that is because you have so much more larvae at your disposal once that hatchery gets up. After the hatchery, you go ahead and build your spawning pool, get a few more drones, and then you should go ahead and build that extractor. So the early hatchery is going to help you with greater economy and greater army. It helps in everything. So always get the hatchery first. As if you're going to pick one opening to just always do it, go ahead and get the hatchery first. It's a great opening to learn a Zerg. Then you want to get the spawning pool, then the extractor. And the extractor is there so that you can get Zergling speed. And that'll help you on scouting and defense. A very, very useful upgrade is to get that Zergling speed. As you go on here, you're going to get more and more drones. Keep your overlords going. The instant that spawning pool finishes, you want to be getting queens. One from your first hatchery. Boom. Get a couple Zerglings too. And then as soon as your natural finishes, go ahead and get a queen from that as well. You want to get just a couple Zerglings early. You want to prioritize drone production, but a couple Zerglings to scout around the map and poke your opponent and try to figure out exactly what they're up to. I like to get 4. I would suggest 4 as well as a basic number of Zerglings to get early. So just get 4 Zerglings, then back to nothing but drones. Of course, keep the queen production going as well. Now they're in a situation, there's a bunch of different follow-ups you can do, right? You're in a situation where you've got your queens are coming out, you've got 18 or so drones. You just started your Zergling speed because you got the 100 gas. And now you're saying, where do I go from here? So what pros often do, if you look at pro players, they often take their drones off gas, and then they use that little extra minerals they get from mining more minerals to get it faster to their base, more queens, etc. Right? That's a little more of a complex build on knowing when to pull guys off gas and when to take your third. So I'm not sure if that's great for a starter build where you just want to experiment with the units and find stuff out. So just keep the guys on gas because it's easier and you're going to want to be lazy. That's what optimal StarCraft 2 is about, is getting the most done with the least amount of work. So just keep those guys on gas just so you don't have to keep thinking about it. And then when you watch pro games, what you'll see them do is if they keep the guys on gas, they're going to utilize that to do like some really aggressive early roach bust or baiting bust. It's really, if you game theory it out, that's the most optimal way to use that gas, is to try to trade for your opponent's economy because you're not investing quite as much in economy. But for you guys just new to the game, you want to explore it, those builds are hard to execute too because you have to have the timings down very well. Your micro has to be solid. So instead, just mine the gas, and you can use the gas to invest in upgrades instead. So you can go ahead, and as your gas starts building up, you can go ahead and invest into evolution chamber, and then maybe the lair tech as well. Because if you get the upgrades and you invest in lair tech, it's one of the most versatile and easy ways to follow up the opening because it's very natural. You keep your guys on gas, and you find a way to spend the gas. Well, let's tech a lair. Let's go ahead and get this Zerging Carapace upgrade as soon as I can, right? So these are upgrades it's relatively easy and simple. You don't have to think about what should I do with my drones now. Just keep your drones doing what they're doing. Keep building nothing but drones, and spend your gas as soon as you get it on upgrades or tech. And it's also versatile because you get the armor upgrade from your evolution chamber, so you can go whichever way you want. Your layers up fast, and that allows you to go in so many different directions. You don't have to worry about weird harassments on your third base, etc. You do still want to take a third base as soon as you get the extra money too, just because Zerg needs a lot of bases. So go ahead and take that third base as your lair finishes. And then I was just building Hydralisk then here because Hydralisks are pretty versatile unit to open the game up if you don't know what your opponent's doing. They counter ground and air both decently. You'll see pros won't get Hydralisks very often, and this is why. Hydralisks are they can attack everything, so they're pretty versatile, but they're actually kind of bad against everything. Like, mathematically, your stats just aren't that high. Their damage per second per cost is not that great. Their life per cost is very poor. So the pros try to do more specialized unit strategies that'll be a little more focused on certain things. But for you guys out there, it's not bad to open up with just a few Hydralisks, maybe 8 Hydralisks or so, because that way you can respond to a variety of threats, and then you can include other units in your competition later. You can get the roaches against ground threats, and you can get the infestors against all threats, because they're your magical Zerg unit that you want to build no matter what your opponent's building. It's never bad to get infestors, no matter what they're doing. So always go ahead and get those. But, getting a few Hydras early isn't bad, just so you can respond to air threats a little bit easier. You can respond to harassment a little bit easier. It's just like a general, not a bad unit to open the game with. Of course, you should be joining up your third base, maybe get a spine or crawler or two. This is all stuff you can experiment on your own. The most important thing is to know these couple things. So you want to get the hatchery first. Let's move back to about 4 minutes. You want to go ahead and get the hatchery first. Then, let's move it back a little more. There we go. You go ahead and start the hatchery. Then after you start the hatchery, you start the spawning pool. After you start the spawning pool, you start the extractor. All the time, constantly building drones as soon as they're available. So the most important thing of Zerg is build drones. Because then, later on in the game, you're going to have all these complex decisions. Where it's, oh, he has units, what units should I make to counter that? And then when you're thinking of those complex decisions, what you're not doing is you're not building more drones. So you got to get all your droning done as early as possible so that later on, you're not saying, oh, I have to sneak in more drones, but I'm worried because he's trying to attack me. You can just say, all I need to worry about is units because I've drones so effectively early on in the game. So if you're Zerg, you're just, you're jumping into Heart of the Storm. It's a new game. You're having fun. Let's go to desktop. It's cool desktop. You're having fun there, and you want to know what to do. Hatchery first versus everything, right? The only reason you would not get a hatchery first is if your opponent sends an early scout out and prevents you from placing it down. But unless they're playing at high levels, that's not really going to happen. So hatchery first gives you both more economy from more larvae and more minerals to mine from. More army from more larvae, right? So you can respond. If they're attacking you, it's actually better to go hatchery first. Because then you have a lot more larvae at your disposal. You have creep out at the front. You can put a spine crawler down there at the front. It's better versus everything. So just go ahead and get the hatchery first. Then your spawning pool. Then your extractor. Get yourself some speedlings. Keep making drones and then progress to whatever you want there. I just recommend getting a few Hydralisks out early, then going infestors. Because Hydras out early means you won't really die to anything crazy early on. And then you get those infestors, and they're your key unit versus everything. And so it's important to get them early. And it's important to use them a lot, because you'll get better and better at using all their abilities the more you practice it, basically. And it's a little bit tricky thing to use. You've got a bunch of abilities. Experiment which ones you like using the most, and figure it out from there. So that wraps it up for this segment on the Zerg introductory build, as you're just trying to explore the game. Take a short break and be right back with the Terran introductory build.